Welcome to Broadband Action, a podcast presented by Community Broadband Action Network. I'm Curtis Dean. My co-host John Willow's here with us, and we've got our good friend and frequent collaborator with C-Band on the line today to talk about his 2025 Broadband Turkey Awards, his first ever awards given out by the indubitable.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
By the guy,
This
Doug
guy
Dawson,
right here.
CCG Consulting. Doug, thanks for coming on with us again.
You bet, and I think we're going to enjoy it today. So
these
awards are all five mind-boggling. So.
They are,
and you know, you didn't even have time to put bead 2 on here. That just dropped. No. We don't even know yet, right?
Correct. That's next year's award, I guess. Yeah.
That'll be next year's award. Don't worry, there's plenty of turkeys to come ahead in 26, but we're gonna look in the rearview mirror right now and talk about 2025. Now, Doug, of course, you were on just a few weeks ago with us as we did your 2026 predictions, and so we really appreciate you putting on your Karnak the Magnificent hat for that. Of course, now that I've discovered the joys of AI.
When you said last night, you were not kidding.
I was not kidding.
That is some slop.
I just got to tell you, nice waddle, Doug.
Hey, as someone who grew up on a farm, it's very authentic.
It is, absolutely. All right, enough of the levity. Let's talk about the turkeys. All right, we're going to start with you did 5. Did you waddle? No pun intended. On others, or were you pretty clear what the top 5 were?
No, these are the top 5. I mean, there's not a number 6 that is as bad as these. So yes, after that it gets not as bad. So yeah.
But you just got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
All right.
Who knows? Well, by next year, some of those 6 through 10 could be 1 through 5, right?
Correct.
Right. Some of these may be back next year. Who knows?
Right?
Especially this first one, because this one, or number 5 on your list, is something that I think is going to just be part of our lives for the rest of our lives, and that's major cloud outages. So let's talk about that, Doug. You know, you identified a few of them in your article, and you know this. There's a URL to the article if you want to read the turkeys online on Doug's blog.
You did a great job in your award run up to it. So,
yeah, I mean, we are now in a world where there's some giant companies who a lot of people have never heard of: Cloudflare, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, and a bunch of other ones who are the folks who run the background of the internet today. And so they're in all the big internet service centers. They're in all the POPs. They're in the big data centers. And so, and unfortunately, these companies have, over the last 5 or so years, have done 2 things. One, they've consolidated. There used to be 20 vendors who did this, and now there's 5 or 6. And so they're everywhere. All the major services we use are on them. And so Cloudflare, for example, had an outage this year, and one of the consequences is Delta Airlines went down nationwide for 3 hours. And Delta Airlines probably had no idea that they were tied into Cloudflare. Or if they did, it was some IT guy at Delta who probably got laid off the next day.
I'm pretty sure the ticket agent didn't know a Cloudflare from a hole in the ground. They said the word Cloudflare to you. They might have thought, oh, there's going to be turbulence today. But no, that's not what it's about.
No, but there's a second reason why this has gotten bad, because even within these companies, they've replaced people with AI or they've just consolidated. Where Google might have used to have 40 or 50 really good experienced network engineers who all had 20, 30 years experience, meaning they knew how to quickly fix a problem. Now they probably have 6. So they've literally got rid of people, because what they've done is Google might have used to have 7, I'm just making these numbers up, they might have used to have 7 data places that were manned, and now they might have 1 or 2. And so as they consolidate it down to a smaller number of places, there's only a handful of people who run them. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, the people who run them are junior engineers. These are not guys with the experience to know how to get these networks up and running. And so, you know, it takes them a while to now diagnose the problem. A lot of the outages this year were DNS errors. DNS errors mean they can't find a place on the web, and so which means nobody can find a place on the web.
DNS, domain name server.
Yeah. So when that goes down, the web really stops working. And we've had DNS outages ever since we've had the web. And it used to be that would be 20 minutes to fix at one of these companies. And now it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours because the guys don't know how to fix them. And their networks are so complicated, they just can't figure it out. And then lastly, AI is starting to be introduced. And AI at this point is not up to the task. AI steps through things. It goes, oh, I know how to fix that. There's 32 steps. Let me do 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. I ran into a problem. Okay, let me fix that. Let's go back. 1, 2, 3. and it does this until now they'll fix that. And so, AI will get better at these if they keep having these crashes. But for now, that's another part of the problem is AI is not ready. AI can't mimic a smart network engineer. It's just
So what I'm hearing you say right now is, oh great tech companies who have created a clear roadmap to extract every drop of wealth from not only consumers, but also other companies, governments, and beyond. Slow your roll a little bit. You can have it all in a few years, but for right now, tap the brakes until you know what you're doing.
And hire back some of the smart guys, yes, for Pete's sakes, because those smart guys knew how to fix this stuff in less than 6 hours.
I was reading.
We're getting these bigger outages that last longer. We should be going the other direction. So,
I was reading about a big brain drain going on because of AI itself, and all the AI data centers are taking away a lot of the experienced network engineers and even skilled workers like people that can splice fiber. So I would imagine that the big AI data centers and whatnot are waving enough dollar signs that some of those people are choosing to flee into those jobs.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Well, I mean, you just said something that's interesting. There's a large Meta data center, Meta the company, the old Facebook in Louisiana, that's going to have 1 million servers. Okay. That's the biggest one that's ever been built. It's not finished yet, but it's almost finished. There's 8 million miles of fiber inside that data center. There's a little bit of splicing to do.
How many permanent employees will they have? Do you know that one? 15, 9?
It'll be a small number. It'll be a small number. Yeah. So it doesn't create a lot of jobs. It just creates a hell of a lot of nuisance locally, noisy and polluting.
And people in West Virginia are already just dying.
They're done with it. Yeah. We're going to see a big pushback against getting these in here. We're going heading straight to NIMBY for sure. I know I would fight against one coming here.
That's happening a lot in Michigan because of our water advantage.
Right.
But I know we're not talking about BEAD 2 today, but I did read into it, and the funding excludes funding for mega data centers, which I thought was really interesting, even though it's AI focused. So.
So anyhow,
right.
that's my number 5 turkey of the year, because the industry is going the wrong direction. It should be getting better. It's getting worse. So
they're just going to, and the next 4 are even more outrageous. Let's go. Number 4.
Yeah, let's move on to number 4. From the ridiculous to the downright scary, Congress determining spectrum policy. Wait, Congress determining anything is scary, but this one especially, my goodness.
Well, this was part of the big, beautiful bill. So remember, Congress only passed like 36 bills last year, and 30 of them were like to put a plaque up somewhere. So the big, beautiful bill is the one that did everything. Well, in the big, beautiful bill, the FCC said we have to set aside 800 megahertz of spectrum and put it up for auction. It was necessary for Congress to do that because FCC's auction ability had expired because Congress had given them an authority in the past, and it had literally run out. So for about the last year and a half or 2 years, they couldn't hold a spectrum auction. But when they did that, they could have just renewed their ability. But instead, by setting aside this actual target of 800 megahertz of spectrum, what they've done is that's a giveaway to the cellular companies. Cellular companies are going to win all of that because they're the only ones who come in there and spend billions of dollars on spectrum. And so basically they just went to the front of the line, and you go, well, what's bad about that? We need lots of cellular spectrum, right? But this is a limited resource. So we're talking mid-range spectrum. That's between about 700 megahertz, maybe 600 megahertz, and about 6 gigahertz. And within there's 50 different uses for spectrum, the little pieces that have been set aside. There's some Wi-Fi. There's a bunch of bands that already are cellular spectrum. There's stuff for weather, satellites. There's the stuff that we use for rural broadband for CBRS radios. I mean, there's all sorts of different uses in there. And a couple of them deserve to go away. So a few of these will be easy to find. For example, they gave a little pile of spectrum 7 or 8 years ago to self-driving cars, and they're not going to end up using it. So now we're probably going to get 17 emails from the guys who are pro self-driving cars after saying that, but they really have never figured out a way to use that. And you can do it without spectrum. I mean, self-driving cars will talk to each other one of these days, so they don't run into each other, but they could do it with LiDAR, which is not even spectrum, right? So
right.
And so, but there's not 800 megahertz of it sitting around, so they're going to have to rob Peter to give to Paul, which means they're going to take away things like CBRS that we use for our Wi-Fi. They're going to take away some of what we all use at our house for Wi-Fi. In order to do that, they have to rob a whole bunch of this existing spectrum. The normal process has been all the parties come to the FCC. They fight for 2 years about which one of them is the worst liar. They're like, we need it, and those guys are a bunch of lying liars. But eventually the truth comes out because engineers really end up doing the important filing. And so the FCC has actually over the years done a very wonderful job of balancing these competing groups who need spectrum. And the point is everybody needs some, and we need some for satellites, rural broadband, home Wi-Fi, you name all those uses. The military is a big one. Everyone needs their piece of it. And so now Congress just overturned the apple cart and said, Congress, they didn't tell them which pieces to find, but 800 megahertz is a lot. So they're going to have to come and rob a whole bunch of spectrum bands, put it up for auction, clearly go to the cellular companies. I got to say, the cellular companies have some good lobbyists. They
do.
I mean, they won this battle, and the people they're taking. I mean, the Wi-Fi is way more valuable than cellular spectrum. Everybody uses Wi-Fi. I mean, the value to the economy of the Wi-Fi that we're all three on right now in our house is way more valuable to the economy than cellular spectrum. But we're going to probably end up losing some of that, and once you lose it, it's not coming back. So yeah.
Can I ask a question? It's a prognostication. I don't think we know the answer, but
I don't have that picture loaded up. Sorry.
So obviously this really, like you said, it overturns the apple cart. This is unprecedented, and in not uncommon congressional fashion, not just recently, but always, we have elected officials demonstrating or activating expertise they don't really possess with consequences. So as this moves forward, if it turns out that it's going to be really deleterious to find 800 megahertz, do you think that there is a mechanism for recalibrating that auction so that it's more reasonable?
There probably is. If the FCC cried bloody murder and went, we found 500 megahertz. We don't really want to find the other 300. We don't think this is good for everybody. They would possibly listen to them, and an FCC could certainly slow roll this. So the answer is there is, and so and all of the people whose spectrum will be stolen, essentially, to give to the cell carriers, are all going to be screaming bloody murder. So I mean, they're not going to take Wi-Fi spectrum without a giant fight.
Right.
There is going to be lawsuits, but the trouble is the lawsuits probably lose because Congress told them to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, the FCC would be following what they were told to do, and they've never done that before. There's never been any congressional ruling on a specific spectrum before. I don't know. It's amazing to me that this. And I suspect that only 3 people in Congress knew this was put in the bill. This is the kind of thing that got snuck in on page 612.
I bet Ted Cruz knew.
Yeah. I mean, so 3 people knew, and they all got their big payday because their PAC just got a whole bunch of money from AT&T.
Yeah.
But that's how, unfortunately, that's how Congress works these days. This was not a deliberate widely discussed issue in Congress that just got snuck into and this bill was literally inches thick. I don't know if you've read, I read it end to end, and I may never recover from that.
I haven't read a big piece like that since I read the Patriot Act front to back in like 2 days. Yeah, that was
still recovering from that. Yes,
I'm still recovering from that, but I can tell you what's in it.
Yeah.
Well, what's always ironic to me is, Congress steering the ship here on a policy that's going to affect so many Americans, and it will never be something that Americans decide how to cast their vote based on because it's too dense, it's too complex, it's too abstract. Yet this will affect Americans' lives much more than some big flashy piece of legislation.
There's one last consequence of this, which is this is enough spectrum now. This basically gives the cellular carriers permission to go and really sell FWA cellular broadband to homes. It's going to give them a whole bunch of more spectrum to do so. And every engineer will tell you, spectrum has no place in the world to compete with fiber for home broadband. It just simply is a bad use of a very limited natural resource, which is spectrum. But this is going to let them go get 30 million more customers for home broadband on wireless, which is very good for their bottom line. But that spectrum could be used well for other purposes for way more value than what those guys will get. So that's just not, no one 5 years ago would have ever said, let's use cellular spectrum as one of the primary ways to give home broadband, because they're going to go, hey, there's not enough of it. We shouldn't be doing that. So it's a nonsensical idea. So here we are. Now this is going to take 3 or 4 or 5 years to answer your question, John. They're not going to find it all right away. Right now, they've only identified like 125 of this 800, but they're going to have to do it. So, yeah.
Speaking of ridiculous, number 3 is even more ridiculous, and we're suffering from it here where I live in Benzie County, Michigan, where we had in our original BEAD proposal 0 LEO, and then all of a sudden, after benefit of the bargain, we were informed that almost 17% of our locations are going to
Amazon LEO. Yeah. Now, I have a better story. I live in Western North Carolina. There's 6 counties around me where 100% of their BEAD locations went to Amazon LEO.
Oh, my.
Oh, that makes my stomach hurt, actually.
100%. And there's a whole lot where they went 30, 40, 50, 80% of them. So they really cleaned up here. For folks who don't know,
they came out of nowhere.
Well, let's talk about what that means.
Yeah.
Amazon LEO was called Kuiper until a month or so ago. So this is Jeff Bezos's satellite company. At the end of 2025, he had 103 satellites in orbit. He's got to have at least 600 or 800 of them up there before he can even do his first test of the network. And so who knows when they're going to finally be able to do this. They were given grant money, a company that has no network, no customers, no ability to serve anybody, is being given federal grant money to provide broadband to people. I mean, this is just completely absurd. At least if the money went to Starlink, they could do it tomorrow. If Starlink got the money, they could sign you up tomorrow, assuming that they can sign up as many million people as one who got assigned to this, which I'm not sure that any of them can. That's a whole different issue. But this is a non-existent company. It's a company on,
How did it happen? How did it happen? Do you have any idea?
I do know how it happened.
Okay.
It was in the benefit of the bargain round, which we'll be talking about in a while, which said, if you don't have a priority technology, which is fiber, you have to give it to the non-priority targets. And the state broadband offices, I believe, took a very cynical approach to that and said, fine, we'll give it to whoever asks for the least amount of money. I believe a lot of them were completely burned out on this whole process, and they were disgusted, and they went, because in almost every case, Amazon bid less than Starlink. And so they went, well, if it's not the priority technology, cheap guy wins. Not the best of the non-priorities, because they couldn't, the group that got hurt worst by that was there was a lot of places where a fixed wireless company could have won. It did, but they went straight down to satellite when that guy was going to produce 500 megahertz broadband to a rural county. And it's like, they just skipped right over them.
Yep,
And you
they
think
sure
that,
did.
you think that was out of spite?
I do. Well, I think it was out of spite and disgust. I think we're going to see a third of the broadband directors leave this year. There's already been 3 or 4 left already.
I think there was
I
just
just-
one this morning.
I just
New
think
Mexico,
about
I believe.
Michigan, from Nevada. I think about the
Nevada.
Michigan broadband office and my relationship with them and how they're exhausted, but they're still in the fight. So do you think that could explain why, if I don't have a disengaged broadband office in my home state, is that why only 17% in my county went to Kuiper?
Yes. Well, now there are places where Kuiper was the only one who asked for the money. So they get those. Because Amazon didn't ask for everybody.
Sure.
Yeah, Kuiper got very little, asked for very little in Iowa, for example, where I swim in, the pool I swim in, and so they didn't get any.
So if they're the only one who asked for a location, by default they win. They were going to give it out to everybody. If nobody else wanted it, they probably should get. I mean, I still don't know what that means.
They took claimed locations from Benzie County.
Yes.
That were claimed for fiber, even. So
no, that's the real crime.
Yeah.
And the thing that's really got me puzzled with whether it's Amazon or Starlink is, what will the subsidy be used for? Is it going to help them build more satellites? Is it just going to reduce the cost for the equipment at the customer's home? In which case, it's more of an operational support than it is infrastructure deployment,
which is not okay.
Some of the states are going to make them give a free receiver. Not everybody, but some of the states will say part of that money has to go for a free receiver at the home. The rest of it is for capacity building. That's
stock buybacks. That's what I heard. Did you say stock buybacks? That's what I thought I just heard you say.
Stock buybacks. Yeah, well, either, you know.
So we don't know what capacity building means because they never told anybody. I mean,
I don't think they were asked.
They were supposed to file detailed technical specifications along with their BEAD application, right? Just like everyone else did. I've seen a bunch of those. Some of them were 3 pages long, and they were just a corporate fluff piece. They didn't tell you anything useful about their technology, their network, their plans. And it's kind of hard for Amazon to do that since they didn't really have a network. It's like, aren't they under the gun with a FCC for meeting a launch schedule that they will never? They're supposed to have 1,800 satellites up by this June 30th.
I assume FCC is just going to say, "Yeah, never mind."
Nah, because if they're up to 600 by then, they go, "You're getting there, you're fine." So.
Is there a scenario, Doug? Actually, Doug or Curtis, do you see a scenario where the Amazon awards could get pulled back?
No.
If for non-fulfillment.
Well, there's certainly there's an outlying chance that Amazon will never complete their network. I mean, what if Jeff Bezos gets hit by a truck tomorrow? I mean, they might not finish. I mean, we don't know, right? So, I mean, it's always possible, but I think there's a lot of other investors in it. That's probably not the case, but they will eventually get there. I fully believe that they'll get there, but this is an ISP who doesn't exist and doesn't have any customers winning federal grants. That's the absurdity.
Yeah.
That's the turkey award. So,
but they can sure get that Amazon order that my wife made last night at 10 o'clock to our door by 8 a.m.
Well, I think they dropped it from a satellite to get to you.
That's how they're going to do it. Oh, I see the packet truck out front. They're delivering my broadband from last night. Okay. Oh, all right. Enough of peeing and Jeff's cornflakes. Let's move on to our next one on the list: killing Digital Equity Act funding. John's gone into hibernation now.
This is near and dear to John's heart because that's what she was going to be doing. But this was money that was it was called the Digital Equity Act, and it said, let's give money to get computers and devices into people's hands, and let's train them how to use them. If we're going to build all this broadband out of these grants, let's make sure that people know how to use the broadband so that they can become subscribers. Every ISP benefited by this big time, because that, when you go to some of these rural areas where they've never had any broadband, which that BEAD is getting to some of those areas where they didn't have DSL or anything, these folks don't know how to do it. I mean, they really are, they're 10 or 15 years behind the curve. And so that's what this was for, was to train people how to use it. And honest to God, they killed it because it had the word equity in the act. They said this is DEI because it's a Digital Equity Act. If it would have been called the Digital Inclusion Act, which is really what it should have been called, then it may not have gotten killed.
Yeah.
Because they killed, there was a month in last January, now a year ago, where they killed pretty much everything that had the word equity in it. And this went with it. And so I honestly believe this was killed because some idiot administrator killed everything with the word equity in it.
As I understand, it was a Doge slash initially.
Yes.
Well, and I think that between the word equity and the fact that the act specified so-called covered populations, and some of those covered populations were unpopular, and while others were certainly popular and vote worthy, they overlooked those and went after the ones that they didn't like.
But the fact is, the act would have been just as effective if it didn't mention who it was for at all. The fact
absolutely.
The fact is, it was going to go to people who don't know how to use broadband.
Yeah.
You can't buy broadband at your house if you can't afford a computer. It's that simple. Let's get computers out there, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the premise behind this. And Curtis, you and I know somebody who this affects. Who is that again?
A certain little person that's on this podcast, in fact, but fortunately she's resourceful and has moved on. Now we're not.
Wait. I wouldn't
What?
have addressed that except you said it that way. I have not moved on. I have not moved on. I am deepening into working in my home community.
Well,
broadband infrastructure and digital resource mapping, which is what's available. And I'm still 10 to 15% C-band. We're just waiting it out and putting our energy where it belongs. I
need to say moved on, but moved sideways maybe a little bit.
I've had to adapt. It's a heartbreak. It is a real heartbreak. This is not my podcast, but gosh darn it.
The more we sit, we hope it's not.
We put a lot of effort into teeing this up for our members for benefit.
And this money was going to go to pay people to do the work, and so that's thousands and thousands of people have lost a job because of this.
That was me. That was
correct.
And we're hopeful that somehow a solution will be met to create the kind of resources needed to still do digital inclusion activities. On wood, we'll see where that comes from, but we're keeping our powder dry at C-band, and most other organizations that are involved in inclusion are ready to go when the clarion call to serve is issued.
And just remember, everybody, let's put on our code switching hats. It is now workforce development.
It is.
That's all. That's what it is now.
Yeah. Now there is some chance that this comes back. The only big chance to come back in a big way is they decide to disperse the BEAD non-deployment funds, because most states have 100 or 200 million. Some of them have $1 billion of money that could be used for stuff like this. Some states don't have any. Some states use almost all of it on infrastructure. So, but that money could be done. Otherwise, I think we're going to see regional solutions. I think we're going to see. I mean, the state of North Carolina, where I live, is already talking about funding some of this. Out of state money. So the fact is, I think we're going to, but that's going to be very regional. And it could even be at the 3-county level in a cluster. I mean, it's going to be done the way it was done before this. The only downfall of the grant I saw was it gave a 3-year boost to get all this going, but after that, the funding stopped, and all
this
these
is very true.
Had to be self-sustaining anyhow. So now we have to go straight to the self-sustaining somehow.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's the challenge, because nobody expected to have to do that. So what it did do, though, was it stirred up John and 50,000 other people who want to do this for a living, and I think that a lot of them will find a way to do it. Is what I think will happen. So,
that's what I'm doing. Totally. I was very lucky. It only took me a year to resort myself and to align myself into similar work, but there's a lot of us. There's a lot of displaced work, and a lot of people, and a lot of work that got done knowing about that narrow 3-year window, scaling for that, looking to, and the process of scaffolding on the future relationships that would be needed for, I mean, so much was happening in the 3-year run up to what was supposed to be the deployment time, the actual disbursement time. And I think it's as far as emotional crises go from digital equity practitioners, just watching it all evaporate, especially for those of us that were in the NDIA's Digital Navigator Core pilot program, where we got to spend 3 years watching transformation, watching people's lives change, watching economic indicators rise in the communities where we served, and really seeing it on the ground. And then it literally evaporates with one notice.
One last bitch from my side. This was originally supposed to be dispersed in 22, 23, 24, 25,
yes, it was.
26, and 27. And as of the end of last year, they hadn't dispersed any of it. I mean, NTIA completely screwed this one. They could have dispersed those funds. And so
the Biden administration and the previous NTIA leadership deserve a huge amount of the anger toward this. And I think
60% of this money had been dispersed. It would have actually gone to do a lot of good. It should have already been out the door. It couldn't have been.
And you can say the same with the infrastructure funds too.
But this one doesn't have the same reasons for holding it up. They could have just done it. They could have just held the grants and done it. I don't know. I still don't understand why they didn't. So,
All right. We're going to move on now to the final and targeted, I would say the largest turkey on the list, and that's why it's number one, the benefit of the bargain.
I still can't
OMG.
say that. I still
this is my impression of a big turkey.
I can't say this without laughing because I don't know who it benefits and I don't know where the bargain.
Maybe it was the same team leader who thought digital equity was a great name for that.
Right.
As long as we're misnomers.
I mean, what this did was to cut through everything. It cut the amount of money that went to the infrastructure in half is what it did. It's that simple. What they did was they said, forget the 4 years of work or 3 years of work we've done for all the states to get ready for their grants. And by the way, some of the states had already graded their grants and were ready to award them.
Yep.
They said, let's start all over. We're going to make it as a 2-step process, and we're only going to judge people on their cost per passing of building their network. So they set up, states could define priority technology. Fiber was almost automatically priority, and then they could decide if fixed wireless was priority. So they had to give money to them first, as long as they were underneath of some dollar threshold. And if it didn't go to them, it had to go to a non-priority technology, which is essentially satellite or fixed wireless. And so, the states that had already announced their awards, a whole lot less of it ended up going to fiber after they redid them. And most states didn't make their awards until these new rules were in place. And the amount of fiber is probably, I don't know, I forget the percentage, 40 or 50% less than would have been if they hadn't changed the rules. I mean, some states were going to give almost everything to fiber before.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, West Virginia was going to give 100% fiber. That was their plan. They had enough money to do that. And so, this was nothing more than a way to cut the amount of money that went to infrastructure. This is also why all the money went to satellite. I mean, at the end of the day, it was these changes of the rules. Satellite would have gotten a little slice even under the original rules, because like I said, there were places no one asked for the money for. So that would have gone to satellite, right? That was the whole point, was make sure everybody had a solution. But this was just the same way that John got devastated by the digital equity act and killed. This just killed so many ISPs who had plans to expand the network, and it certainly killed all the consultants and engineers who were working on this.
We know a few of them.
Yeah, we know a few of them. So there's a whole lot less speed projects going to be done over the next years. And the funny thing is, if they end up giving away the digital inclusion or the non-deployment funds, and that's what's left over. Whatever didn't go to infrastructure is called non-deployment. out of the 42 billion. If they end up giving that away, they could have built the infrastructure.
Right.
If they end up spending the 42 billion, why would you not have spent it on permanent things that are good for 50 years rather than, give it for some other purpose? So this is all crazy. This was done almost immediately. It wasn't announced to June, but they made up their mind last January. As soon as the new administration came in, they knew they were not going to give the BEAD money out. They put everything on hold, I think in the first week of January, or first week of the administration, which was the
January 22nd.
January.
January
they
22nd.
put it all on hold.
Was this just a result of the fact it was politically possible to do this to this infrastructure portion of the Infrastructure Act, but it wasn't possible to do that with, say, roads, bridges, railroads, because that was farther along?
Well, yeah,
already being spent.
No, they killed a bunch of the other stuff too, but a lot of those had already been awarded. I have
blinders on when it comes to that stuff. I just
there was a small pile, for example, that went to electric smart grids, and it mostly already got spent. So some of the infrastructure money was already spent. They didn't take so long. Energy Department didn't mess around. They just got it the heck out the door. So, the fact that none of this had been spent made it a very easy target. But they keep on killing bridges and roads and dams and all that kind of stuff. There was just the big news in Colorado where they just last week killed a big water pipe project. So they're still killing stuff.
But that was retribution, I'm hearing, right?
Well, that's what everyone says, and it sure looks like retribution. Yeah.
I'm just saying. So,
right.
We've been dancing around all of this Leo stuff, and I just want to ask you, kind of off topic, but not really. Has there been some substantive discussion about long-term satellite affordability for the rural communities it's supposed to serve? Because I'm just asking you now as an expert, Doug. I'm really perplexed that it's such an expensive internet option on average for people, and yet it's being served up to some of the least resourced communities in the country. When do we start talking about that?
Well, first off, we don't know. And now this is where Amazon Leo could make a difference. So they could come in and charge $120 a month, just like Starlink. And now we just have collusion among the billionaires, or they can package it with Amazon Prime and sell it to you for $22 a month, in which case Starlink will have to cut their prices. So this either could be competition or it could be complete duopoly, which means both of them screw everybody. So there's no way to know. Starlink says it's going to be affordable. Amazon Leo does, but Starlink says theirs is affordable.
Right.
The company owned by the first trillionaire.
Yeah. He says it's affordable, which means I guess he can afford it.
Well, he's giving it free to Argentina right now. So
it doesn't cost $120 around the world. You can't sell in Africa for $120.
This is very true. Yeah,
it's selective pricing by where you are. So now there are two other networks going to be coming. One is owned by the state government of China, and it will be illegal here to get it, but people are going to go. They're going to bring the satellite dishes home when they're on vacation. They have no idea that you're receiving it at your house, And then the other one is from Singapore, which is a commercial one. Even though Singapore is marginally associated with China, it's not a Chinese government network. They're probably going to be dirt cheap, or possibly. Now they might all come to the U.S. and go, well, let's all charge $120. That's the rich folks. We don't know, but there will be at least 4 satellite systems up there.
Interesting.
Now, interestingly, to finish your off-topic thing, Amazon is migrating its satellites lower already because they say it's getting too crowded up
I was just going to say, well, they all fit. Yeah.
Well, there's 100,000 more satellites coming in the next 4 to 5 years. Where the heck are they going to put them all? That's a lot of satellites.
And we're already less than 2 days from I can't remember what that metric is now, but I think you talked about it last time. The potential for 2 pieces of space junk, 2 satellites hitting each other,
and caught in a giant cascade where it all turns to Yes.
Oh,
that.
you had that. Yeah. So I guess
Yeah.
previously there was up to 8 days notice if we were on course for that, so they can be averted. And now they're saying that when these new satellites are all up and running, we'll have hours if they're on a collision course, like no time to fix it, no time to change course. So that will be interesting.
And then 80,000 satellites will evaporate like that one. And now what do we have?
Right.
And the debris will still be there.
Yep.
You have a low Earth orbit that looks something like underneath my bed. Lots and lots of dust bunnies.
Well, that was information. That's information that we didn't need to know.
No, it does create an interesting idea for a new kind of business.
Well, there actually is a business doing that. There are satellite cleaning service. They're going to send up satellites who clean the debris out of the air. Now, I could see. I can't imagine
satellites.
I can't imagine
Satellite Sanford and Sons. I can see it now.
Exactly. I can't imagine how they're going to clean up all of space, but theoretically, there's already a couple of them up there on a trial.
Yeah.
So that is a concept. Yeah.
Why can't somebody just go around and do that with plastic bags in the ocean then?
Well, there's actually somebody trying to do that too, but
somebody trying to.
But there's literally like a 800-mile across pile of stuff floating out in the Pacific. That's a little hard to pick up.
Yeah, I guess we're lucky that the ocean naturally coalesces, right? And it all kind of so much of it
turns into a big pile, a big floating pile.
Yeah,
oh,
crazy.
Well, I have a feeling we could diss on satellites all day long and probably still not get anywhere. So instead, I think we're going to give our dear listeners and viewers a chance to take a break here. I want to bring up, Doug, your website, Pots and Pans by CCG.com. As we've explained on this show many times, Doug is a daily blogger about broadband, and it's always must-read information. So we encourage everybody. We'll put this in the description on the podcast or the YouTube. So in case you didn't get to see that URL, so you can go visit us. Doug, we'll probably have you back next year with more turkeys, if you don't mind. Big fat ones.
I have to imagine we'll have another year of turkeys, but we'll have to wait.
There's always, wherever there are people, there will be turkeys.
Well, no, I live in Appalachia. We have actual turkeys in town.
You do. You have wild turkeys.
We have wild turkeys that walk around downtown.
So do we. Yeah.
They think they own the place.
People slow their cars down, and I've never seen one get hit. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I don't think I want to mess with them.
Turkey family cross the road.
Oh yeah.
Slowly.
Oh,
up here is Canadian geese that do the same thing. They just
they're in no hurry. They're like we're crossing the road now. You go to rest. Take a rest.
And they they come up over the ditch, and there's like 2 young adults, and they're like give the all clear, and then 47 chicks just great.
Yes, there's dinner on the hoof right there. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We want to thank our guest today, Doug Dawson with CCG Consulting.
Well, thank you, Curtis, and
sharing
John.
the 25.
Pleasure to talk to the 20 of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll be back. We'll see y'all next time here on Broadband Action.